be able to catch up on YouTube later on. So thank you everybody for attending. We've got some fantastic speakers coming up for us this afternoon. And this month's event is Foolproof Freebies. So if there is one thing that universally connects the public, private and third sector, it is about getting the best value for money, especially when there isn't enough of it. And it is so often the case when it comes to community and voluntary initiatives. So as ever, this afternoon, we're going to hear from a few individuals who are going to share their experiences, and then we'll have an open conversation about your thoughts and questions. So first of all, training is very often a compulsory requirement when working with people, both staff and volunteers. And I'm a big advocate of continuous professional and personal development. However, getting the right training can often be an expensive business. It doesn't have to be. So I'm going to hand over now to Craig Pollard from Lancashire Adult Learning, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what they offer and the benefits that can bring to community and voluntary organisations. Thank you, Craig.
Hi everyone, sorry about that. I was doing my usual trick, being on mute then. So I'm Craig. I work for Lancashire Adult Learning. I'm one of the partnership workers. I work in 2 curriculums, health and wellbeing, and I also work for a volunteering curriculum. So we're all about the training courses from the volunteering sections, what we deliver, what we're talking about today. As a partnership worker, I work with groups, if you will. There might be an organisation who's got volunteers and they might want their volunteers to do some specific training. So we've been working with groups for Friends for You, Veterans in Community, Shape Lancashire, Women's Institute, Surely Help the Homeless. So we do work with organisations, but we also just work with, we put training on what is free for people across Lancashire. So if you were just a person who wasn't a volunteer, wanted to look into getting into volunteering, a little bit extra to put onto your CV, you can just enrol for some of this training just by yourself, and you'll just be like in a little community, if you will, because all the classes are online. So it's a good opportunity to meet different people as well. The networking goes on in the meetings. So quite a lot of the well, all these courses I'm going to be talking about, they are free. But if you will, for instance, there's bite-sized there's mentoring, introduction to mentoring. So that could be that's a 2-hour session about what would be expected from you to learn about the subject of mentoring, where you could go further. If you wanted to delve further into mentoring, would you prefer to go on to level 1, level 2? If you go to level 1, level 2, but there is a fee, I think it's £45 for level 1, but all the introductions, they're all completely 2.5-hour sessions, and they give you a good base understanding of the subject of mentoring. And then we also have bite-sized risk assessments, dementia awareness. We have developing a community project. I do know, I think that's been quite popular. I think we had a group from our Lancashire who did the developing a community project, and we're looking to put that on again, looking after the summer holidays. So what we do as well, I've mentioned just a couple of sessions there: risk assessment, dementia awareness. They're all single sessions, but sometimes when we're working with groups, we could put something together called the volunteer training program. So if you had a group of volunteers, and you might think, I want my volunteers to be able to have a good understanding of how to do a risk assessment, some understanding of dementia awareness, mental health awareness, introduction to safeguarding, then we can put a bespoke package together for groups as well, by having conversations with you, finding out what your volunteers actually do, what skills and knowledge you think they might need upskilling in, and then we could actually put on the volunteer training program for you over a set amount of weeks. So it's a case of you find out what sessions are available, and then you put your own package together. Some, for instance, Friends for You in Chorley, what they do for all their volunteers, they do introduction to safeguarding, we do dementia awareness, and then we do Lancashire Lifesavers, which is part of the first aid. So there's lots of free training what is available for everybody. We also have introduction to conflict for volunteers, introduction to equality and diversity, information and guidance, introduction to mental health. That's quite a good one, because if somebody wants to do introduction to mental health, we're actually doing that with Shape Lancashire. You can do the one-off session, but then if you wanted to, you could come back the week after, and then there's a 40-minute assessment, and then you can get a fundamentals level 1 in mental health awareness. So there's lots of good training out there for someone who might be interested, who is a volunteer and they want to upskill your volunteers. There's some good courses there where somebody might be wanting to get into volunteering, and they might want to say, when they're going for an interview for a role as a volunteer, I've done first aid, I've done introduction to safeguarding, so they've got a good understanding to help them get the role. Or it might be somebody who just wants to reskill themselves. They might want to change direction in the career, and there's lots of different courses what can help them move on. We've also got a course called Volunteering into Employment, where that is looking at you might have an idea of a role, what you want to do, so it could be looking at what courses could help you achieve that role, where you could volunteer somewhere where you could take that experience to help you get a full-time job as well. So all these courses are the instructions, they all are free. Lots of people, for the training for the volunteers, they just take up the offer of the free course, and they find that that's enough and upskilling for what they need. But there's always the option, if you will, to progress with all the training courses what we've got to level 1s and level 2s. I think that was quite a little bit of a whistle stop tour. So literally it's a case of we could do full training for groups. If you've got a group of volunteers you want to train up in certain aspects, or if you're just somebody who's just interested in a certain subject, they can just come on and do them free just by yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Craig. So yeah, we came and did the course as our Lancashire team.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting, and it gave us some insights that we hadn't really thought about. Like, one of the things that we looked at was how different sort of age group demographics relate in community organisations, and it took us down some really interesting avenues to explore. So I would certainly give it the seal of approval. What was I going to say then? Yeah, I mean, there are so many options, aren't there, when it comes to learning, you know, as well as yourselves. For people that live in Blackburn, there is an equivalent that covers the Blackburn and Blackpool areas as well. And there are lots and lots of free online open access courses that people can, you know, either whet their appetites with, and they might then want to come on and do something face-to-face with yourselves, or vice versa. You know, they can do something with you, and that might open up their interests to look at something a bit broader. Thank you, Craig. So now, in addition to education, one area that we have a focus on at our Lancashire is about sharing resources. And not only can it be more cost effective, but it's also better for the environment as well. If you're only having to, you know, make a smaller number of things from our planet's very limited resources. We all know what an essential resource our libraries offer. It's far more than books. They also act as community spaces and provide online access, which is becoming ever more essential in our web-based world. But we're actually going to hear now about a library with a little bit of a difference. So I would like to hand over to Phil Wade from Breaking Cycles CIC, and you're a bit braver than us, Phil, because you're outside.
Hi, Gail. So the concept of a bike library is basically that we're a central resource where people in the Ribble Valley, largely from Clitheroe, but we're due to open up in partnership with Longridge Community Gym, where we're looking at opening up a second library as well, and spreading out further into the Ribble Valley, and then eventually the world. But the idea is the combination of, you can borrow a bike, you can hire a bike if you want something that's slightly higher value, but the main point of it is that we provide access to training as well. So that's cycle training, as in the sort of level 3 national standard cycle training, which is equivalent to the Safe Urban Drivers module that truck drivers use as CPD, and I think it's quite a popular course within the police, with the officers that go and ride the bikes. It's a course that they do. It's also the course that kids from as young as 9 do in primary schools. It's under the brand of Bikeability, but it's a great course that everyone can access. In partnership with Active Lancashire, we've recently created a set of online resources to supplement this, so there's a part that people can access without having to access face-to-face training, which in turn means that it's much more efficient for me to offer the face-to-face training in small groups, because I don't need to spend loads of time repeating myself when there's just videos that can be watched elsewhere. So that's basically the bike library and what we're doing with it. The other expansion that we're looking at as well is to work around the railways, so that you'll be able to eventually pick up bikes and resources around routes and where to cycle and other activities that you can access by bike from the railway stations that run through the Ribble Valley. And again, we're starting in the Ribble Valley and hoping to expand wider once we've got a successful model in one place and ready to develop. So that's the bike library in a nutshell. I could go on and talk to you more about Breaking Cycles, because there's loads of things that we do, but yeah, just if anyone's got any questions.
I think actually, Phil, it would be really nice while you're here to talk to us a little bit about the outreach projects that you've been doing in Pendle, and also the dyspraxia aspect of Breaking Cycles as well.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So in my project in Pendle, so I'm going to bring this all under one banner. I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, and one of the presuppositions of neuro-linguistic programming is that we already have all the resources that we need, or we can create them. So with a good understanding of the subject matter and a good understanding of how of the experience that somebody might be happening, I'm pretty sure that we can get anybody going and safely using a bike and getting the mental well-being benefits from it. With that in mind, I've taken a particular interest in working with neurodivergent people. That's people with conditions like dyspraxia or autism or attention deficit disorder. And I've actually had a inquiry this morning about working with people who've suffered brain injuries and had and now have deficits with concentration and memory as a result of it. So I've developed a teaching methodology for learning to ride that then can be transferred through to cycle training that will work for somebody who doesn't access learning in a traditional way. There's an ongoing piece of work at the moment. If you have a look through sort of YouTube and the Dyspraxia Foundation's Facebook groups and things, you'll see that I'm working with, sorry, I'm tracking my brain for the name here, Jo. So I'm working with Jo to help her learn to ride a bike. She's taking on a cycling challenge, despite the fact that she never learnt as a child, and felt that dyspraxia would be a barrier. But using the resources around us, we can break these barriers down, and that's so that the neurodiversity is one side of it. And I've also been working a lot in Cone with Alicia House Recovery Hostel, which caters to the needs of people who are recovering from drug and alcohol addiction. So and this again ties in with the work we've done with Active Lancashire. We're creating a pathway through a series of cycle training and just confidence boosting sessions, volunteering opportunities, and a level 1 qualification that's in development at the moment, which will allow people who are in recovery to use cycling to benefit their mental well-being and physical well-being, of course, and then use the skills that they've picked up from there and some leadership skills to access volunteering and maybe even access some work or further education, possibly around cycling, possibly around other forms of outdoor activities, because I know for some reason people don't always like wheels. I can't figure that out for myself because everything's better with wheels on, but yeah, so that's kind of part of what's happening in Pendle. The next part of Pendle is a similar project. It's focusing around young people's mental well-being, where we'll be working with a cohort of people from that have been identified by the local police, and also a group of young people from Safe Space, which is a young people's homelessness hostel. And again, with the same focus of using cycling to help people benefit their mental well-being, pick up some new skills, access volunteering activities, hopefully move on to being able to access more education, work opportunities, and so forth. And it all seems to be flowing together, and they're all sort of, all these projects are merging together, and yeah, it's looking hopeful. But unfortunately, there isn't a flat route between Clitheroe and Cone. It's one valley to another, so I'll get really fit if I end up over there long term.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough driving between the two, let alone having to cycle. You are far braver than I am. I think you've given us some great examples there of partnership working as well, just reminding us that resources can be human and organisational, as well as the actual, material goods themselves. One thing that I'm aware of is that Men's Den in Colne, they've got some fishing equipment, and they are going to be sharing that as a resource between men locally to get them out and interested in fishing as an activity, which has such renowned health benefits to it. But like everything, it's about confidence building, and hobbies like cycling and fishing, it's an expensive outlay, isn't it? And people want to be really sure that it's for them before they take them. So there's certainly a very diverse market for who's actually going to be looking for shared resources. It ticks so many different boxes.
I'm assuming that fishing is the same, but cycling, I think it's worth pointing out, it can be a needlessly expensive hobby. There are some modestly priced bikes out there, and using myself as an example, yes, I have a collection of bikes, and there are quite a few of them that are 4 figures, but because cycling's become such a big part of my lifestyle, we've reduced from being a 2-car household to a 1-car household. And we're actually debating, the only thing we really use the car for is towing the caravan. So it's yeah, when you look at the lifestyle as a whole, if you really embrace it, cycling can be really cheap and really efficient. But it's that having access to the materials and the equipment to get you going.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is my every session I've got to have some kind of shameful admission. So one of the things that puts me off cycling, as well as, you know, all the hills and valleys that we have locally, is I'm not a huge fan of cycle helmets, but I have spotted one online that looks like a lady's sun hat. It's fantastic. It's basically a helmet similar to the one that you're wearing, Phil, but it has like an overlay that goes over it. And I was like, oh, I could certainly be a cyclist if I was wearing that. But it's the wrong side of £200. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I've my little vanity fit project there. So
I'm sure I could fashion something to fit onto one of the bike library helmets that are like this. Oh, incidentally, the only reason that I've left this on is my head's got a bit sweaty and it's cold.
It doesn't look cold from where I'm sitting. It looks glorious outside today.
It's both.
Well, yeah, East Lancashire. I mean, it always is both, isn't it? Thank you so much, Phil. So, in addition to resources, we can't ignore the opportunity of free cash. Community activities across Lancashire are often focused on fundraising, yet nationally, an astonishing 560 million in gift aid is lost by charities each year because the scheme isn't being fully utilised. So we're going to speak to Rebecca Wilson now, who is the fundraising and communications lead at Blackburn's Wish Centre, and hopefully she's going to share with us her insights into the scheme, as well as find out a little bit more about how the centre manages to make such a big impact with such a small budget. Thank you, Rebecca.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about gift aid and other fundraising resources that are out there that cost either nothing or very little. If it's okay, I've got some slides to share purely because I wanted you to recognise the logos of the companies. I've put their websites on. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, Rebecca.
Perfect. Okay, so that's me. Yeah, so these are them. So just while you're looking at those, I'll talk to you a little bit about gift aid. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't long-winded. Getting your gift aid number, the form that you need to fill in, it is long-winded, the form is long-winded, but there is nothing complicated about it. It just does take a little bit of time to sit down and get the documents together that you need. But you know, it is a process that we can, if I can do it, honestly, anybody can do it. It's not something that you have to, the only way that you have to keep on top of your gift aid is by keeping a firm track of donations that you receive. Keeping a spreadsheet, simple Excel spreadsheet with information on the amount, whether they have given permission for you to claim gift aid, their name, their confirmation that they pay tax in the UK, their house number and their postcode. You don't have to claim it more regularly than 4 years. So you could sit down once every 4 years and just send across your spreadsheet. It can all be done online now. It's a simple process to do it online. And you can send that in and you can expect your payment within 5 weeks. I mean, the thing is, if someone gave you the choice between £100 or £125 for your community group or your charity, which would you choose? Hopefully you're all saying that you'd choose the £125. And that's basically what gift aid does. It gives you free money. So there is that work at the beginning. There is the maintenance work of keeping a spreadsheet with that information on it, but your reward is an extra 25% on top of what people have donated to you. So, you know, certainly from our perspective as a charity, it's well worth it. Now, if that isn't something that you feel that you're ready to sort of sit down and do at the moment, take a look at fundraising platform websites. And I know that there can be some controversy around these, but we certainly have found them to be very, very good. Just Giving and I Donate are both very, very good, and they will claim the gift aid for you. So you don't even have to you claim it. You have to initially fill in the form. You get your charity gift aid number, you put your charity number in the platform, and they claim your gift aid for you, and it just arrives. So is it worth it? In my opinion, yes, it's absolutely worth it. 25% of what people are donating to you is really a huge amount. It's an extra quarter, isn't it? So there are online resources to help you around fundraising, whether that be gift aid or the digital aspect. Now, whether we like it or not, digital is here to stay. It really isn't going anywhere. And we really have had to up our digital game since we decided we were going to put some effort into community fundraising. So I've listed there some organisations that I have found just invaluable. So I've gone from knowing absolutely nothing about fundraising to the position we're in now, where I know a little more than nothing about fundraising, and it's through the help really of these organisations. So the FSI, they provide e-learning modules, webinars, and even videos online around all aspects of fundraising. So from developing a strategy to looking after the people that donate to you, to even getting more involved in things like asking people to leave you a gift in their will. The FSI has various modules around that. They also do conferences, sort of day-long conferences and digital conferences. And the good news is that if you are a charity that brings in less than £1 million a year, membership is free. And their e-learning, some of it is free and some of it is as little as £5. And they're really, I can't explain how valuable the advice that I've had from the FSI, the training that I've had from the FSI has been. Media Trust is another organisation that do provide online resources, so articles, webinars, videos. They also have, amazingly, a professional volunteer database. So if you have a particular project that you are wanting to fundraise for, or you are wanting help on social media with, they have a pool of volunteers. You list your job, your requirements, and they have various volunteers, professionals, so they're paid to do what they do, but they will help you out for free. So they will volunteer for you for free around a specific project. So we got free online Zoom training from a Media Trust volunteer at the beginning of lockdown, because we knew that all our groups were going to have to go online, all our appointments were going to have to go online. So we got free digital training for all the staff and all the volunteers across the board. So now they can handle Zoom like professionals. So that was via the Media Trust. And Charity Digital, pretty much the same, e-learning, webinars, videos. Charity Digital have a lot of YouTube videos that obviously are free to watch around various aspects of fundraising and support around that. Charity Digital and Media Hub also have a resources hub where you can ask questions and find out information about basically anything fundraising driven. Now, Lloyds Bank Foundation, the reason I'm aware of the FSI, Media Trust and Charity Digital is because of the Lloyds Bank Foundation. Now, they support small charities up and down the UK. They are an amazing funder. Their application process really is very simple, and they don't give you money, but what they do give you is resources. So I have had just this week training in public speaking from the Speakers Trust, all free. When we first started, we had 10 hours worth of training around our social media, all for free. So you get a designated supporter from the Lloyds Bank Foundation that know about training that's going on around charities and what charities may need, and you will be invited to attend these training sessions with Speakers Trust, Media Trust, FSI, Charity Digital, and a whole host of others. Certainly I've taken advantage of a lot of the Lloyds Bank training offers, and I know our CEO they've had training around sort of business planning and that kind of thing. Charity Digital also, I nearly forgot to mention that, Charity Digital run a Microsoft software discount scheme. So, you know, for softwares that you may need to properly administrate your charity or community group, they can offer you software packages at a discounted rate. And also what I wanted to say was ask as well. So if you want to, say, have Adobe Premiere Rush, the filmmaking program, email Adobe and say you're a charity, because I will almost guarantee you will always get a discount. If you ask the question, they will give you a discount. And finally, I just wanted to mention Canva. Now, this is a free online, I suppose, graphic, you know, graphics program. Dead simple to use. Everything that you can see there around the Canva logo, I have done on Canva. So it's very good for leaflets, posters, social media, you know, Twitter posts, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, worksheets. So the top two that you can see the side, they are worksheets that we sent out to our young people during lockdown, and we now use them face to face. The other three at the bottom were social media posts. Now, Canva offer their full professional package for free to charities and community groups. You have to email them. You do have to provide some sort of, you know, proof that you are a charity, but their whole package, so that's all the graphics, all the tools, all the kit, you will get for free if you are a charity or a community group. There we go. That's it.
Wow, Rebecca. I mean, you covered a lot of ground there and highlighted some of the amazing resources that are available to people that we just really do overlook. So you talked about 4 organisations there, but one that I wanted to flag with everybody that I'm a fan of is called Charity Excellence, and that's a free online funding portal who have some sort of audit tools as well that they provide, all for free, but they also keep a register of, I think it's around 150 different provider links like the 4 that you talked about, organisations that have an offer for charitable and voluntary organisations that they can tap into. Again, I didn't know that Canva did that for free. Certainly, don't ask, you don't get, do you?
No.
But I think as well, this is an opportune time to flag that many local retailers have got something similar in place. You can go to places like B&Q and, you know, say, can you give me what your offer is for local organisations? I think lots of places locally either do heavily discounted items or give excess stock away for free, and many of them have like community champions that work in the store as well to work with local organisations and give them that extra person help. I'll put as much of this information as I can on the follow-up email that comes out after this session. But I also want to say I'm really glad that you mentioned YouTube, because that is my go-to. If I want to know something, for example, this morning an email came through, a newsletter, and it had been made on Microsoft Sway. And I thought, oh, well, what is this? I've not come across this before. It turns out it's a free application that creates newsletters for you, very much like MailChimp does. And it's like, oh, this could be really, really useful, and it's free. And it just was a case of watching a quick 10-minute YouTube video about how easy it is to use, which is brilliant, isn't it? When all this information is at our fingertips. I suppose there has to be some advantages to living in such an IT-dominated world at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the way we're going, and there is just no getting around it. So we may as well just embrace it.
Absolutely. 4 years was really interesting, because I think a lot of people presume, you know, if you're out of that tax year, you've lost your opportunity for gift aid. So that could mean a hefty amount for quite a lot of organisations that haven't been tapping into those funds. And another thing that I'm aware of as well is it's not always necessary to have people's name and address and approval. For example, your donation tins that, you know, go on counters in shops and places like that. I think it's about £30 that you can claim without having that information readily available. So if you're, you know, doing that on a regular basis, if you're, you know, collecting £25 from those tubs every week, that's an awful lot of money you can claim from gift aid without needing to have people's information linked with that, which I think is something that would be particularly useful to a lot of the smaller organisations that operate across Lancashire. But thank you so much, Rebecca. Like I said, you really did give us loads of information there. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Phil. So much interesting and valuable, you know, ideas that we can take away and ensure that our groups and organisations are really stretching what little money we have to its absolute maximum. So I'm going to open the floor now. Do we have any questions or comments that anyone would like to come in with? So you can either put your digital hand up, or you can just give me a good old-fashioned wave, or pop a comment in the chat. While I'm just waiting for anybody to respond to that, I do have a question myself for Rebecca. When it comes to gift aid, do you do anything in terms of reassuring donors? Because I know there's a lot of myths and, you know, misconceptions around the scheme. A lot of people can be quite wary about having to give their personal details. Is that something?
I mean, when we ask, so if someone wants to donate, say yearly by bank account, you know, by bank transfer, and we broach the question of gift aid, we do send out our privacy policy along with the gift aid form, because I think that's really important. And around HMRC having that information. Well, if they're taxpayers, they have it anyway. But we do also ask them if they want to be kept, if they want to go on the newsletter list, do they want to be kept up to date? You know, we give them every option of, because the last thing we want to do is sort of bombard them. I mean, I know that I get sort of charity emails, and sometimes I think this is just too much. So, you know, obviously we don't want to be in that position, but yeah, we do reassure them by offering them or sending them a copy of our privacy policy.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? Phil, did you put your hand up then? Yeah. You're just on mute, Phil.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, but we've lost your video.
How about now?
Yes.
Excellent. Sorry, it was something to add. We talked about networking and sharing resources. I've put a link to my YouTube channel in the chat and requested that people subscribe to it. As you grow a channel, you get to certain benchmarks and get certain benefits from it. In short, when you get to 100, you can customize your URL. When you get to 1,000, you can start benefiting from advertising. So for anybody who has a YouTube channel for their organization, getting in touch with each other and just subscribing to each other's channels could really be mutually beneficial.
That is a really helpful insight, Phil. Thank you. It's those kind of things that you just don't think of, do you, until somebody points them out. But actually, you know, there are lots of ways that we can be mutually beneficial to each other across the county. So brilliant. Yeah. Jenny, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to confess to Phil that when he mentioned or heard about bike library, am I the only one in the room who actually thought it was some bikes carrying books? That's what I thought, the literal, like a bike library. I just think it's a fantastic scheme that you can turn up and borrow and try before you buy. It's great. Yeah, thanks, Phil. And I will be in touch about, as I shared with Phil in the chat that my son, we went on holiday, hired a bike, never really ridden a bike because we live at the top of a very steep hill. But he really enjoyed this holiday, just 4 days hiring a bike. So we've since bought a second-hand one. He's outgrown it. But the world of bikes and upgrades, it's like, where do I start? It just, the money is crazy, and I just don't know what you need, what the necessity, how much you need to spend. So if I can, having an organization like yourself, I could just maybe like bob an email and share, like say, does this look worth the money on eBay? Or if I could like just run it past an organization like yourself, that's great, because it's a bit scary and mystifying at the moment. Yeah,
it is. And the stuff that's good value is really hard to get hold of without a long wait. Right. It's just the way it is. But on the subject of using the bikes to get books around, the 8 that we initially got from our startup fund all have baskets on the front of them.
Oh, awesome.
Which you could put books in if you want. I know Andrew Froud, our local vicar, borrowed one and rode it around and used it to sort of raise a bit of awareness around the food bank, and that had a whole range of items in the front of his basket. His appeal was to ask people to stop giving them beans. He said, we just get so many tins of beans.
Oh, that's brilliant. We our kind of partner organisation, Lancashire Volunteer Partnership, run a home library service. So that is literally people picking up and delivering books to people who can no longer get out to libraries. But I mean, why not cycle those books around? Absolutely.
It's more environmentally friendly, isn't it?
Yeah, and for short journeys, which the majority of journeys in the UK are actually under about 3 miles, aren't they? So, yeah.
And I find those short journeys, if you factor in the time it takes you to find a parking space, it's quicker to cycle as well. You just need a good coat.
My brain is going 100 miles an hour now with all the ideas and potential that, you know, from combining things that you don't normally put together. you can have a library for pretty much anything. And I have seen there are other parts of the country that have libraries of things. So, you know, you can have like tools and craft materials and, you know, just general household objects that can be shared between, you know, a couple of streets, set something up in the neighborhood. Getting that sort of collaboration between people, it's not only, as I said, good for the environment, it's also really good for relationships within our communities as well. So I'm certainly interested if anybody does want to set up any kind of library across my Pendle and Ribble Valley area. But of course, you can get in touch with any of our Lancashire community engagement officers. Jenny she's recently moved roles, so she's now joined us officially as the engagement officer for not Pendle and Ribble Valley, that's me, but Chorley and South Ribble, which I believe you're getting very sort of stuck into there, Jenny. So, and we're very glad to have you.
Mimi's joined us as well.
I'm
so
here.
Mimi, she is
Hi.
with Blackburn with Darwin and Hyburn.
Absolutely, yes. So please get in touch.
Brilliant. So just to finish off today's session, we've got one more guest speaker for you. Just a little bit of a taster, really. We're going to hear from Tom Mcpherson Pope, who is coming from the making rooms in Blackburn, and that is something that is a little bit different to what you might have come across before. Tom, over to you.
Thanks very much, Gail. I'll just share my screen if that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool, great. So this is our building. You can see it probably behind me as well as our background. We're based right next to the town hall in Blackburn. So what are we? We are a makerspace. So we've got things like laser cutters, 3D printers, potter's wheels, kilns. We're looking at plastic recycling machines now as well, but lots and lots of machines in one place. So we're a creative technology lab. We help companies make new products and entrepreneurs start their businesses, but also locals to make whatever they want, and local organizations as well. We're a training center, so we've got various different accelerator programs and workshops that we run with other organizations, and we run sort of funded programs as well through that. We're also a studio collective, so we've got 2 floors of studio space helping people start businesses in the local area. And we're a venue as well for creativity. So if people want to run events and workshops, we've got a reasonably sized space downstairs to do that as well. So the goal here, we're a community interest company, and the goal is to get people knowledgeable about the design technology and the machines that they can use to make things to improve their lives, improve their organizations, and improve the local community, and also to get people into careers and starting businesses in those areas as well. So I'll just sort of talk about our programs. It'll be very much a whistle-stop tour, I think. So the main one that everyone likes to hear about is a program we run on Saturdays called Fab Lab Blackburn. So all of our machines are available to the public for free for personal projects. So if you've got an unfunded organization, you can use those machines to make whatever you want, so long as it's not weapons, is our main rule. But as I said, we've got a whole host of machines, and we get lots of people coming in. Obviously, at the moment with the pandemic, we've got that program paused, but we hope to have that start up around July time again. So it's a great program. We get lots of people coming in, making all sorts of fun things, signage and products and items and things like that. We're currently running an accelerator program for young people. The whole program is sort of 32 delegates. We're halfway through that. So if anyone works with young people or knows organizations that do work with young people that could benefit from this program, definitely get in touch. I'll share my details. But the idea is we've got lots of free web-based software that we use, like for 3D modeling and 2D design and graphic design and photo editing, that we're taking these young people through a course of how to use these technologies to help their career options, but also whether they want to start a business or start a product in the local area as well. So we've got a bit of capacity left for that. Once that's gone, we're hoping to sort of reapply to the same fund to sort of keep that going and grow that. So, but if anyone knows anyone at the moment, then do get in touch. So these are some of the things that we've been taking the young people through. So lots of fun, interesting things like YouTube and branding and 3D modeling, things like that. We do lots of funded programs. We're also helping people write funded programs, especially if you want to sort of use the space or use the technology. We can help to sort of co-write a bid to help make that easier for you. We're hosting a free bid writing workshop coming up on the 27th in partnership with Lancaster University, the Imagination team there. So I'll post that in the chat as well if anyone's interested. I've got a few spots left for that, so should be quite good. That's also talking to some of the local bid managers and things like that in Blackburn as well. So yeah, if you're Blackburn based, it's especially useful. So this is sort of our pathway as to how people work with us. So we've got these public engagement workshops. Then if people sort of really like the technology and what they're making, we encourage them into starting a business, making a product, and that can be either their full-time job or it can be sort of a part-time business. And then they come back in. We've got the studio space to support them and the machine hire as well, but also volunteership and people coming staff or running their own workshops. So yeah, we're at the moment, there's a pandemic, we've obviously paused our volunteer program, but we're starting that up and looking at sort of training people. So if anyone's interested in becoming a volunteer and learning about this technology and helping us train others, then do get in touch as well. So one of the most interesting projects at the moment we're about to start is called Precious Plastics. So there's a worldwide organisation called Precious Plastics that designed these plastic recycling machines, and we're going to be building a set of them for Blackburn and for Lancashire as well. So there's a shredder, there's an injection molding machine, and there's an extrusion machine as well. So these are some of the items that people can make with them. I think it's really good that people can have this sort of essentially free resource in their own recycling, or we can pair with projects like Keep Blackburn Tidy and the local council to sort of have the waste streams come to us and have that as a community resource as well. And again, if people are wanting to sort of find a way to sort of use that in their organizations or run workshops, then do get in touch because we can certainly work that out. So there's loads of these labs all across the world, and they're sort of split up into different categories. So we're going to be a workspace. So we've got the machines, we help people make things, we help run training programs. But if anyone's interested in talking about being potentially using their space and their organization to fill in one of these other roles in terms of a community point for people to bring recycling to, then do get in touch as well. But that's going to be a really fun project, because you can see the idea that people can bring their waste materials and then they end up with something that they've made. We've shown them how to use the software to design what they're making, and then they can brand it with the type of plastic it is, so that when it's come up to its sort of second end of life, it can be recycled again infinitely, hopefully. So yeah, and we're sort of looking at different ways to sort of increase the sort of waste input to essentially make that a free community resource, so anyone can just use what we've got on the shelf. Some of the other things I'll just sort of run through that we're doing is we've got an accelerator program helping people start businesses. So that's funded by the local council. So if anyone's interested in starting a business, making a product, do get in touch. We're on our 5th cohort of that, so it's going really well. It's an 8-week program. We've also got a similar program for creatives. So if anyone's sort of at the start of their creative practice, they've either sort of come back to it after a pause sort of in work, or they've just finished and graduated from an arts school course, do get in touch. We've got a 2nd cohort of that coming in September, and that's a 6-month program, and a lot of support that's available through that. We've also got the studio space that I mentioned, and we help businesses to write funding bids and engage with our community as well in that. We've got sort of a range of businesses, but we have got a few spaces available. So if anyone knows anyone, do get in touch. And then we do sort of various community outreaches. So we're involved in the Festival of Making, which I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of, and we get lots of people in our lab over that weekend. It's yeah, quite surreal, sort of you know, thousands of people coming through in 2 days. It's a bit more like a nightclub than a community space at that point, but it's really great. And we do a similar thing at a festival called Blue Dot every year, and that's sort of to give back to our volunteers. Yeah, the stress of festival making, even though it's fun, and then they can sort of have a nice reward of Blue Dot. But we're looking into sort of other events that we can partake in as well. So we can, some of the machines we've got, we can take off site, and we engage with sort of entrepreneur events and things in Blackburn, certainly. We also help people with Kickstarter crowdfunding. So we've done a couple of crowdfunding campaigns as the making rooms. I've done a lot sort of previously, but we're helping people, you know, with those campaigns as well, and sort of crowdfunder campaigns that are sort of not quite so product focused as well. So if anyone's looking to you know, raise a bit of funding through merchandising, yeah, do get in touch, and we can help. Not just with the sort of the making of the things, but also, you know, how to position that on the platforms that we use. We're currently helping Blackburn Youth Zone to set up a mini makerspace, and this is a model we want to repeat, you know, in as many organisations as possible. So the idea of, you know, the museum having a makerspace, the library having a makerspace, Youth Zone having a makerspace, so that, you know, this technology is sort of opened up to way more people. And then when people come through our doors as well, we can help them with the next stage, and also you know, the entrepreneurship side of things and the next stage of the technology. But yeah, we're happy to help people sort of write funding bids to include this as part of what they deliver. So if that's interesting, get in touch. One of the things sort of all this is trying to move towards is the idea of Fab City. So Fab City is this idea of a circular economy. The only thing that should be moving between towns and cities is people and ideas, and we should be able to recycle as much of our waste as possible and have local people turn that into products for local people. And that sort of ties into the Lancashire 2025 narrative, as well as sort of this idea of Lancashire as a big city. You know, so that would be sort of the Fab City of Lancashire, trying to you know, recycle as much as possible and keep it as much in Lancashire as well. And that ties into sort of this idea of a distributed local store, which we're trying to sort of pilot in Blackburn, but hopefully we can roll that out to sort of a wider network as well. One of the things we're going for at the moment is the Community Renewal Fund. We're using that to help train local creative organisations, local you know, CICs, charities, to use our machines, to have free machine capacity and materials to make you know, whatever their organisations make. That will then continue on to the UK Prosperity Fund. So we hope to sort of try and keep that model up by, you know, essentially giving organisations like yourselves free access to the training and the materials and the machines, so you can, you know, use that to benefit your organisations and your users as well. I think that was a very much whistle stop tour, but conscious of time. So yeah, get in touch if any of that was interesting, and I think I'll be talking again at some point in more detail. Thanks very much.
Tom, thank you so much. I actually wasn't expecting all that content. I would have brought you in a few minutes earlier if I'd realised we had so many different streams going on. But I don't know about everyone else, but my imagination is completely in overdrive now with the opportunities. You know, my cycling helmet might be something that I can come up with. I
was thinking that when you mentioned it, I was like, ooh, yeah, we can help with that.
So yeah, I look forward to bringing you back later in the year when we can look at things a little bit more in depth. But finally, just to wrap up today's session, I'm aware it's just after 3 o'clock. Thank you again to all our speakers. We've had some fantastic information. We will be having more of our Zoom events. We've actually got 2 coming up in May. On Thursday the 6th, we're going to be talking about creating captivating content. So that's podcasts, videos, magazines, thinking about what works well and what's involved in putting things together. And then on Thursday, the 20th of May, we've got a special anniversary event, because we've been running these Zooms now for almost 12 months. They were brought about as a response to the pandemic, but there are a host of adaptations that we have made as a result to make life a bit better and easier that we want to keep going forward. I certainly think that these Zooms are something that would be really difficult to put together in a face-to-face environment to get, you know, the fantastic content and such a broad audience attending them. So I think, you know, the intention is that we are going to keep hold of them for as long as they're wanted. But yeah, our next session in May, 20th of May anniversary, is going to be about change for good, the COVID positives in Lancashire's voluntary, community and social enterprise sector. So keep an eye out for your invites coming through for those sessions. And just to finally say thank you everybody for attending. We really do appreciate you giving up your time on what is a really very nice afternoon to come and hear from us. I will be contacting you in the next few days with the recording link and all the resources that we've talked about in the session today. Have a lovely evening, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.